Hello and welcome, I'm Oles Gerjuk and you're watching Head to Head on UATV. What unites Ukrainian high schoolers who are interested in film and global professionals already working in the industry? The answer is education. Representatives of Vancouver Film School, one of the world's highly recognized schools in the film industry, are holding a masterclass in Kiev called From the Script to the Screen. To discuss the opportunities for future Ukrainian filmmakers, we are joined in the studio today by Michael Bazer, head of the Faculty of Scenario from the Vancouver Film School and an experienced screenwriter himself. Hello, Mr. Bazer,
Hello.
and thank you for being with us today.
Okay.
It's a pleasure to have you in this studio. So, each global region brings its own style, of course, of movie production to the screen. What do you see as unique about Ukrainian cinema versus North American? Let's start our conversation with this.
It's a great question. I think what's unique about Ukraine and the film and it's the stories that the people are going to tell. It's the generation that you have now. I think what excites me to come here and speak to the artists here, the young artists, the prospective people who want to be in the industry is the stories they want to tell. You know, what's happening now, as you know, is that because of the new delivery systems, because of Netflix and the internet and the satellite systems and all the ways we watch and see films and television now, the students and the young people of Ukraine are watching the same films that the students of China or India,
Sure.
of Brazil or United States. So there's a global kind of conversation going on now about art and how we tell stories. So I think what's unique about Ukraine is the stories that they will tell using the craft that is out there, this global craft that's developing, but more interesting will be how they tell the stories of their culture within that.
That's an interesting answer, and I would totally agree with you. Could you then tell us a bit about this masterclass that you are conducting here?
I was hoping you'd tell me about it. No, I'm very excited. You know, I go around the world. I'm very fortunate. For some reason, I've fooled enough people to believe that they know what I'm talking about. And so what happens is I get invited occasionally to different countries to talk about the craft of screenwriting and what makes a good television show or what makes a successful film. So what I do is I get in front of some people who are like-minded, people who aspire to write, maybe people who are already writing, and we really talk about and we exchange ideas, hopefully, about the craft of screenwriting, which is pretty fundamental. You know, as again, the way we see shows has changed, or the way we see movies, right, have changed, but the way we tell stories haven't changed, right?
Of course.
You know, all stories and the structure of stories pretty much has been since men have been sitting around and women around the campfire telling stories, right? So beginning, middle, and end, character development, you know, structure, of course, dialogue. We discuss these, we talk about them, kind of strategies and how to get work done, what's hard about writing, what works about writing. And by the end of an hour or two, right, I think we've talked about a lot of common ground and exchanged some good ideas.
That's interesting. But still, what does it take to become a professional screenwriter?
Oh, insanity. I think it takes a little bit of courage, right? But I think what the universal, theme of all screenwriters is that we have stories we want to tell. We're trying to reach an audience. We're trying to make people feel, right? We're trying to make people laugh. In my experience, and for me, I never really wanted to be a screenwriter. I wanted to make people laugh. I was comedy-oriented. I was looking to be a comedian, but I was a terrible comedian, right? I was probably the worst comedian in New York City. But screenwriting became the vehicle for me to make people laugh. And so I use that now as that, and that's what fulfills me. So my background is comedy.
Well, and this masterclass in Ukraine, in Kiev, is being provided for young people between the ages of 15 and 17, right?
If you say so, yes.
But why are you focusing on this particular age group?
Because I think those are the people I think that was the interest of the people they had to participate. I would gladly speak to anybody about screenwriting. I'm slightly evangelical when it comes to writing for television, especially because I think that as a writer, we have an enormous responsibility. We are able to influence and change people's thinking. Television is such an immediate media, just because we don't sit around in our homes anymore and watch it in our living rooms as much. You know, the beauty of television, of course, is that this is a television, right?
Yes.
You know, we carry everything around with us. So what we call TV now really is just how we communicate. And I think that as a writer, we are able to influence and to reach people and to touch people and change minds. And that's an enormous responsibility. So we talk about this all the time when we have these workshops.
But speaking of these high schoolers in Kiev, in your estimation, what are their chances to become true professionals if they start their studies earlier?
Well, I think they're possible.
Are they ready enough for this screenwriter studies and stuff?
Well, you know, I look at these young people, and I go, as I said, I do this around the world. And the students, I'm sure, you know, I was in Kyiv just last week doing workshops there. And so we got to meet a bunch of young Ukrainian prospective writers as well. And they remind me of the writers I met in Vancouver and the writers I meet in China, and they remind me of the writers I meet in Mexico. They all have, as I said, stories they want to tell. I think the opportunities are out there now that never existed. I think because of the global industry and how it's developing, I think that what's happening in all the countries we visit, that there are more opportunities now for people interested in the entertainment business than ever before. I'm jealous. You know, when I started out in my career, you know, 1,000 years ago, right, there was, no, but in the United States where I started out, you know, there was only very few avenues for me to sell my stories to. You know, now with all this opportunity with the networks and the studios and the internet and YouTube and Apple coming in, all this original programming happening now and films, I think the opportunities now are not only for the American student or the Canadian student, but also for the Ukrainian student and the students of all over the world. And so I think the opportunities are out there, but like anything else, to be honest, like anything else, it takes more than talent. It takes desire.
Skills, it takes a lot of work.
Oh, yeah, but talent is key, but also what it takes is tenacity, and it takes the ability not to be, you know, deterred by people who tell you can't, right?
That is true.
And you have to be able to take a punch, you know, because you're going to get rejected, because you have to pay your dues. But for those people who have to do this, people like myself and all the people I know in the industry, you know, they will get there. They'll get the opportunity, and then they have to prove themselves.
Yeah, and not to be afraid of this punch.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. I am, as I said, I am jealous of the young people today.
Well, you said that you already held a workshop in Kharkiv, right, in eastern Ukraine. How did it go, and what is the feedback? What is your impression?
I think it was, no one beat me up, so that was the good news, right? No, I think we reached a lot of students. I think.
How many were there in attendance?
Excuse me?
How many were there in attendance?
30,000. It was in a state. No, I'm just joking. No, no, it was. Maybe we had about 50 in one and about 40 in another, right? Workshops, and that's a lot of students to workshop at once. I think the reaction was very, very positive. All the students who came to us, as I said, it reminded me of myself when I was young. They all share this kind of dream and aspiration to tell story.
How would you evaluate their skills, their vision of the product itself?
Very highly. You know, the ideas that they came forward with, right, and some of the stories that they told in our workshop were spectacular. They really were. Very impressive. There wasn't one that I didn't think couldn't be made into something viable, honestly. Good thinking, good ideas.
Would they deserve studying in Vancouver Film School having a full course of studies in Vancouver?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe some scholarship.
You know, it's interesting. Our school is not a school for professionals. It's for people who want to become professionals, all right?
Okay.
And so we're always looking for talented young people with ideas and also for dreams, right? And people who really want to put in the hard work, because our program, what sets our program apart, I think, from other programs, okay, is that we have a philosophy. James Griffin, the gentleman you were speaking to earlier, is the founder of our school, and it really is a trickle-down effect for us. Our philosophy is that we believe that in 1 year, in 12 very intense months, we can teach, give people the skill set, the confidence, and build a body of work that other schools maybe take 2 or even 3 years for.
In Ukraine, I'm sorry for interrupting you. In Ukraine, it takes 5 years to earn a degree in movie production.
Right.
And I've read about your school, and I've read about this intensive course of 1 year studies. And how is that possible?
Oh, it's very possible because, again, we kind of strip away all the extracurricular things that aren't really necessary within the industry. I've been in the business for 38 years in Los Angeles. I went there when I was 20, okay? And I was very, very fortunate. By 22, I was the youngest producer in American primetime television. So I know a little bit what I'm speaking about. And in all the years that I have been in the industry and all the thousands of people I have hired, because I'm a showrunner as well, no one has ever asked me, and I've never asked anybody what their degree was. I only care, can they deliver? That is the greatest crime you can commit in the industry, is not delivering, because there's so much at stake, okay? So at the end of the day, if our students leave our program with the ability to deliver, right, then we have done our job, and we think we do that with our curriculum. So we don't spend a lot of time on coursework that maybe be towards getting a degree, right? None of our instructors, none of the students we leave, right? None of our instructors come to us from university. All of our instructors come to us from the industry. So,
from the industry itself.
And all of our instructors, again, are working in the industry while they're teaching at our school. So we are able to stay current and to really be facile with what the industry is doing at any given moment. So that's a long answer to your question. But having said that, I would say that in a one-year program, what we teach and what our students leave with far surpasses what other programs do in 2 or 3 years. And again, I think the industry values youth more than anything, right? The industry wants what young people's ideas are. And I think the young people, right, one of their great commodities, right, and assets is their youth. So I think you should come to a school like ours, learn your craft, build up your confidence, have a body of work that will open doors, but then get out there and do it. Hit the pavement, pay your dues, because the sooner you're out there doing it, the sooner you'll get there.
And you mentioned the difference in educational philosophy. Is this about teachers from the industry, directly from the industry, or is there some broader issue? How would you compare, for example, what is the difference between Ukraine and Ukraine's educational philosophy? And for example,
I would be remiss to tell you that I know anything about the Ukraine educational philosophy. I can only speak about my philosophy in our schools. And I think, again, what happens in a lot of universities, and even in the United States and Canada, in some film programs, is that you have these instructors, these professors, right, who have gone to university and have learned theoretical issues on how to make films. But I don't think they've ever made films, right? They can talk about it, and they've studied it, and they've studied the masters. I think the value of a program like ours, again, is being taught by people from the industry. It is like having an apprenticeship. And our instructors then are able to recognize talent and then maybe recommend them to their compatriots within the industry. So in a way, being a student in a school like ours gives students actually a leg up in entering the business, because you're being exposed to the teachers who are actually hiring people afterwards.
Well, let's hope that this right approach will be implemented in as many schools as possible.
I would love that, but I'm excited just to be here and meet the young people of Ukraine. It's pretty exciting.
Thank you very much, and thank you also for this conversation.
What a great time. Thank you.
That was Michael Baser, head of the Faculty of Scenario from Vancouver Film School. Thank you for watching us, and stay with UATV.